All right, Crosskart fans. Today I'm going to do something I've been kind of dreading for a while, but the question's coming up more and more, so I need to address it. It's time to do the cost breakdown on building one of these. Now, the reason I've been avoiding it is, number one, everybody's build is going to be different. So everybody's cost analysis is going to be different. Everybody's going to use different parts, source different materials, make them the way they want them, rather than just cookie cutter exactly how I did it. And also, there's a pretty significant range on this. You can build them, super cheap, but they're going to be cheap. You can build them super expensive, and they're going to be full-on race cars. So I did the best I could to figure out where everything fits into, a simple graph. So first, title it. All right, it's the cost analysis. Okay, so instead of making you wait till the end for the final numbers, I'll just give them to you up front. I don't care. The low end from the math I did is $4,154, bare bones minimum, if you can source parts well and if you don't pick a bunch of extra stuff. Now the top end of this, and obviously the sky is the limit. You can put as much money into these as you want, but from my simple breakdown that I'm doing, my personal high end would be $7,939. I know these are crazy numbers, and these numbers aren't the exact numbers. They can range higher or lower by hundreds of dollars. I'm just doing the best I can to try to get you where I was. Now for these, I came up with a build budget of $4,000 to build this one. And I didn't even come close to that. This one ended up costing me like $6,300. But that's because I was testing parts, trial and error. If I messed up a part of the chassis, I'd have to buy new steel tubing. I have so much scrap metal and a bunch of parts in boxes from eBay that just didn't work. I broke down what I actually used to build it, and it was around $5,400. So I wasted about $1,000 in research and development, but that's how it goes, and that's actually kind of a low cost compared to what some companies do. So let's get into it. The way I have this broken down is by the most expensive build group, high to low. That's the best way I could do it. Hopefully it makes sense to you. Let's start off with the bones, right, David? So the metal's going to run you $1,000. Now all of these aren't really mins and they're not maxes. They're about what I used. So what all does the metal include? Well, obviously the frame. It includes the jig. Your flat bar can be in this estimate because you're going to need, a good chunk of it. And this accounts for extra material. Now, if you mess up a bend, if you mess up a notch, if your radius is wrong, if something doesn't fit right, don't try to force it to fit. Everything is triangulated for a reason. So if you've got bigger than a 1/4 inch gap or anything that you're uncomfortable filling, then make a new piece, please. That's what I do on mine. If I go to do final weld and it's not good, I'll get the instruction sheet back out and replace that piece. Okay, so the next biggest cost, or maybe the biggest cost, depending on what you're using, is the donor bike. Now this is separate if you're getting a motorcycle and making it into a Crosskart versus an ATV making it into a Crosskart. My main goal was to use an ATV to make a Crosskart. I don't really need 100 horsepower. ATVs are crazy fast, and this 500 was the proof of concept that 40 horse can be incredibly fun in a buggy, especially when you're shifting gears. And when I started beating the Polaris Razors, I was like, this is not slow. Your donor bike, somebody left in a comment that they just got one for $900, a Polaris Outlaw 500. Now, the Polaris 500s, you can get them a little less expensive because the 525s are more sought after, and they are plenty of power. They're plenty of fun. But you can pick up a very, very nice Polaris Outlaw 525 independent rear suspension for $3,500 all day long. Now, what goes into that is the condition of the bike. If the bike's in really poor shape, you're going to have to fork over a little extra money to rebuild everything. All new bearings, all new bushings, tie rod ends, steering ends, all that stuff can add up. Now, let's talk about what you get. So you're going to get an engine. Engines are expensive. If you try to buy an engine separately, you don't know if it's running. You don't get the wiring harness, you don't get the carburetors, you don't get the exhaust. You have to buy all that stuff separately, and that really, really, really adds up. Suspension. These Polaris Outlaws have really good suspensions on them, especially particular years that have the piggyback style Fox. Now that was a big deal for me to be able to retune the suspension and make it usable for a machine that was 200 pounds heavier. Now I just used math in that, but if you got a tuned suspension for a Crosskart, that's $1,000, easily $1,000 or more. You get front A-arms with the bike. You also get rear ones, but I make my own to make the track width wider. But you could use the stock rear A-arms and have a narrow track width. Aftermarket A-arms or even A-arms on eBay and secondhand can still be a cost that adds up, and most of them need rebuilt because they're coming off a bike that's completely worn out. Aftermarket A-arms can be $700, so that's a good cost savings when you get a whole bike. Now the big one, you get an independent rear suspension driveline. Now I know everybody's been scouring the internet trying to find a solution to this, and they're all expensive or hard to fabricate. So if you start comparing getting an independent rear suspension from like Protodye for $1,200 versus getting an entire nice quad, it starts to bring some balance to what you're putting your money into. And when you get it from an ATV, it's rebuildable with factory parts. You can put new bearings in it. You can get new CV joints. You can get new CV boots, new stub axles. So it kind of justifies the extra cost of it. You get the electrical system. You get the full wiring harness. If you saw my other video, it's easy to modify that wiring harness to work in a buggy. Wiring harnesses aren't cheap if you buy them secondhand. They're like $100, and you're getting this free if you buy a whole quad. And then in the worth noting section is the radiator. The radiator is matched to the engine, so it will keep the bike cool as long as you get enough airflow to it. Now radiators are only like $50, and you could run a Honda Civic radiator and run it at an angle, and it's got more volume to keep your engine cool. But I haven't had any issues running the stock radiator on that 500. The fan works as advertised. The temperature sensor works as advertised, like it was made for that bike, so it just fits right up very easily. Next on the expense list is the control category. Now I call this the control category because control means safety. I drop a good amount of money into this. That'd be $1,000 into control. Now what's all included in control? Racing pedals, master cylinders, and your brake and clutch lines. Racing pedals are expensive. You can fab your own. Master cylinders are expensive, but you can get the super cheap go-kart ones. And brake and clutch lines, if you get stainless steel braided sleeved lines, not only is it going to be easy to install, but they're going to last forever, and they're going to be super solid for your build. I put the extra money in because, like I said in my racing pedal video, control gives you safety and keeps all your components good. You want a good throttle that's not going to stick on you. You don't want to be going 100 miles an hour in your backyard and your dog run out in front of you, and that be the moment you realize you should have spent some extra money on your brakes. From the start, I was dedicated to getting a good control system. All right, the next one is driver amenities. I kind of categorize this on its own just to clean up some of the other stuff. Driver amenities, $750. Now that's the racing seat, racing wheel and adapters, your steering, which is your shaft, U-joint, and steering rack, your shift linkage and parts for that, and your 12-volt panel. Now obviously you could just use the stock ATV controls and hook it up somewhere crazy on your buggy, but it's only $40 and it's pretty easy to wire. Made it sensible for me to have a master and the key and the accessory. Now, the least expensive part of this, surprisingly, is the floorboard. Floorboard is only $80 to $120. The rule book specifies that if you use aluminum, it has to be a minimum of 2 millimeters thick. If it's steel, it can be 1 millimeter thick. I opt for the aluminum because it looks nice, it's lightweight, and it just feels stronger than 1 millimeter steel. I get the biggest sheet I can get, and then I cut it and separate it out into the skid plates and floorboard. That's your basic stuff to build a Crosskart. All right, so now we'll get into the stuff that makes it not so inexpensive. And I'll tell you what ones I opted for to enhance the driver experience or to make it nicer. So this will be our extras column. All right, the biggest extra is the Trail Tech. Now that's the speedo, the tachometer, the radiator temperature, all the neutral, reverse, oil temp lights on. To me, that was worth $240. Now that is for the ATV conversion. The motorcycle conversion is probably going to be a similar cost, but I don't know exactly what that is. And you can get a Micron, you can get any kind of race computer and set it up. Just Trail Tech was the one that fit my budget and fit my needs. And I've used them before on other bikes, and I really like them. They make really good stuff. Now the big one in the extras, your wheels and tires. Now how do you put a price on wheels and tires? Everybody has different flavors. Everybody likes what they like. Personally, I like the DWT aluminum spun wheels. They're super lightweight, they're double beaded, and they actually make these really, really snappy and really fun to drive. The tires I use are Sun F A021s. They're a lightweight tire. They're more for asphalt than dirt, but I make the tires the weak point of my driveline so I don't blow CVs and mess up any of that kind of stuff, or the transmission or the clutch. It was just an easy decision to do that. I've run more aggressive tires. I bought some steel wheels and some turf tires, and they're literally 3 times as heavy, which adds sprung weight. It adds overall rotating mass to your vehicle, and it was still fast and fun, but I could definitely tell a difference and missed having these on there because of it. So wheels and tires, I think for my setup, for my black one, I paid $500, maybe a little more. But if you get 29-inch tires on super nice custom wheels, I mean, you're looking at $1,000 or more. So that's kind of your extra that goes into that big number. Now the next one is bodywork. Plastic or aluminum, fiberglass if you're skilled that way. And you know, the wing is a cost. So now I already ordered up the aluminum. I'm going to do aluminum body panels on the Crosskart, and I'm going to do plastic ones on the ATV conversion. Aluminum panels were $150 to cover the whole thing, including the firewall between the engine and the driver. Plastic is a 25-foot roll for $50. I just unroll it, heat it, shape it to the best I can, and it turns out okay, but obviously it could be better. And then the wing, they're anywhere from $50 to $60. I just get the cheap Chinese ones because, I don't know, it's not really producing any downforce. It's just for looks, so I didn't want to spend money on like an engineered one. All right, consumables. I put consumables in the extras category because if you take the plans and have somebody else do the welding and notching and bending, that's not a cost associated with that. It's its own cost. But for my consumables, I gauge around $300 for that. That's welding gas, welding wire, hole saws, drill bits, gloves. I go through about 4 sets of gloves when I build one of these. And then the last one would be lights. Lights and any kind of other gee-whiz thing, lights, mirrors, add-ons that aren't necessary to drive it, but you kind of want it on there. I don't really drive these at night, so I didn't invest in a very big lighting package. But if you get the fancy LED light bars and you have lights all over this thing, who knows how much you want to spend. So that's it. I broke it down into a simpler thing instead of going through the cost of every little thing. I'm trying to cover what I'm using in my build videos. So if you have a question on something I'm using or wondering what something is, just take a look through the videos before you comment. This was 10 years in the making and at least a year of sourcing very, very specific parts to what I was doing. So this was a lot of work to do this. And something I didn't want to do respectfully is source everybody's parts for them. Everybody has different tastes in racing seats and steering wheels and wheels and tires. I'll answer as many questions as I can. So I hope this is a good enough overview for you guys to source your parts. Something I did to save a little money is I got the Amazon Prime Rewards card, and I sourced a lot of this off of Amazon, and they give a 5% kickback. So I would buy the parts, pay off the card immediately, and then I would just pocket that extra 5%. So if $2,000 of your cart goes on an Amazon card and you pay no interest, you saved $100 on your build. Let me know if you want me to do the electrical extension on the 600cc engine. It's going to be very similar, if not the same, to the electrical harness I did for the ATV one. If I have to film and edit it, it's just going to take me longer to build the whole thing, but I'm willing to do it if you guys want to see it. And I think next we'll do the dash on this, which is pretty fun. So I hope this was good enough of a YouTube cost breakdown video. I know they're super boring, and as always, let me know what you think. Subscribe, share, whatever you want. And thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.